Hello, hello, hello. Hi, all. Happy Friday. It is another episode of Filter Free Friday, and I can't wait to talk about it because it is so timely. So, for those of you that are new to me, my name is Angel G. Henry. I am your inclusive manager strategist as well as ceiling breaker. Why? Because I wrote the Amazon best-selling award-winning book, Dents in the Ceiling, Tools Women and Allies Need to Break Through. You can kind of see that over my shoulder. There's the cover. And as a result of the research and the work that I did around women kind of navigating some pretty non-inclusive workspaces, I have been deep down, eyeball deep, in helping organizations and managers, those that are at the middle level management space, help to really make DE&I sticky. So diversity, equity, and inclusion with a keen emphasis on inclusion, inclusive workplace practices. It's near and dear to my heart because I know what it meant to me when organizations and supervisors got it right. And I knew what it meant to me when they did not get it right. Okay, quite impactful to one's mental health, work performance, even their families. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So why is this timely? Well, interesting enough, just popped up in my email literally a day or two ago that says, according to a recent society, it is the SHRM report, the Organization for Society for HR Management. They have a Mental Health in America report, just came out from 2022, workplace report that says over a third of workers believe mental health benefits are more important than higher pay or salary. Okay. That is absolutely the case when it comes to knowledge workers, to those workers that are getting paid fairly, and for those that are being compensated for their time adequately. Once you have met their basic needs of being able to pay the mortgage, the car note, sending their children to school, food on the table, when all that is taken care of and it's not a worry, the very next thing that is top of mind is your benefits and what other support systems does the organization have to offer you. For example, your EAP benefits. What are the number of sessions that I get? Are my children covered? Is my spouse covered, even if he or she is not on my insurance? Is my partner covered, even if we're not married, but we're living in the same household? These are things that folks are now starting to think about, especially post-pandemic, okay? If they have a counselor and they love working with that person and they're switching jobs, they're going to be looking at salary and pay and time off. And they are absolutely going to be looking at, can I stay with my physician? Can I stay with my counselor? And insurance pay for it. Okay, so that's what's top of mind for folks. Now, question is why? Why has that bubbled up to the top for so many employees? It's because there are a great many of us, and I say us, I'm including myself in this, that have languished and are languishing. Okay. Now, what does languish mean, right? Okay. Well, first off, caveat, I am not a counselor or a licensed therapist. I have someone on my team that is, but essentially languishing, the way that I say in layman's terms, the way that it feels for me is I'm not quite depressed to the point where I can't function, but I know I am not thriving. I know I am not operating at the highest level in terms of brain power, creativity, ingenuity, energy that I can put into my job, into my life that I normally operate out of. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, if energy level is high for me and is at a 10, I know what that feels like for me. I know what that looks like for me. But if I'm constantly hovering at like a 4, maybe a 5 on a good day, and that's consistent, meaning that's been going on for months and months now, I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get frustrated in terms of, I do absolutely myself and those that can identify with languishing, we get frustrated when we can't reach those higher levels, right? Of again, innovation, creativity. You're having ideas and you have the energy to put it into execution. You're showing up to meetings with the agenda and notes from the last meeting, and you're prepared with questions for this meeting. Your camera's on. You dressed up for the meeting, whether it's in person or virtual. When you're languishing, it's dulled down. Okay, it's not quite. I've got my hair up in a bonnet and I've got pajamas on and I can barely drag myself out of bed. It's not quite to that level. It's just somewhere in between, right? Where maybe my camera's not on. All right. I did shower and brush my teeth and I got my cup of tea, but my hair's in a ponytail and I just could not have the energy to put on any jewelry or lip gloss. Right? So my camera's off, but I'm still present. I'm still checked in, but not all the way. Okay. That's what languishing means to me. And that's the best way that we can describe languishing. Again, it's somewhere between not quite depressed, but not thriving either. So when you have a group or a crop of folks that are like that sprinkled throughout your organization, you're getting less productivity at the end of the day, bottom line, right? And the work that person was normally able to do might end up getting shuffled off to other people, okay? So if you have someone who has a deadline to do a report, right? They have a marketing report or a summation that's due on Friday, and it's about 80% there, and that person is just dragging and cannot get it done, but they finally do make it. They finally do get it done on Friday on the due date. So they haven't missed their deadline, but normally they would have turned it in a day or two early. So it could have gotten some peer review, or it could have been pre-reviewed by someone else and they could have got feedback, incorporated that feedback. And now you have a polished report on Friday instead of just a draft on Friday. Right? That's what this looks like. That's how this shows up in the workplace, where it's still done. The person is still performing. They're still checking the boxes. They're still, again, engaged and present, and they're technically doing the work, but it doesn't look like how it did before. It's out of the norm for them. Okay. So let's tiptoe. We're just going to do a quick little tiptoe into what I call functional depression and functional anxiety. It's very similar to the way that we described languishing. Again, the hallmark is that it's constant. Okay. So a functionally depressed person is someone, and again, I want to reiterate, I'm speaking from my own personal experience, is when I was, had that low affect, had thoughts of I'm not good enough, or imposter syndrome, or things just aren't quite right, maybe at home, and it shows up in the workplace, a very pessimistic, negative attitude, but you try to push through. Right? You still try to show up. You still try to find the positive and help support your staff or other people around you. The hallmark of this is that, again, it is constant, it is consistent, it is not letting up. You absolutely, as with anybody, right, cannot get out of bed on Monday, right? You just had a little too much fun over the weekend and you're just like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I can't believe Monday's already here. Everybody experiences that. But when you have what we call the typical Monday blues every day of the week and even on the weekends, where the things that you enjoy, the activities that you typically would look forward to, you don't anymore. And so you slowly you're dragging yourself. You're trying to muster up the energy and the strength to do just the bare minimum, which is to get out of bed, shower, brush your teeth, and get yourself ready, or get your kids ready, or walk the dog, whatever it is, right? Feed the goldfish, whatever it is that you got to do that day. The energy And that's the key here is energy management. The energy that it takes to do those same activities is infinitely more. And that's what it looks like when you have functional anxiety or depression. Functional anxiety, when you have where the trigger goes off and you have that feeling kind of in your belly or in your chest, you get short of breath, you get panicky, palm sweating, you activate all the things that you are coached to do or told to do or that you've learned how to do yourself. You activate all these coping mechanisms to calm yourself down, to push through and get through whatever it is that you have to do, whether it's the presentation, whether it's the Zoom call, whether it's writing the report, whatever work that it is in front of you, you're using an abundance of your energy to get through and get it done. Okay. So this is all about energy management. And guess what? This is all under the covers. These are things you can't see. If you are a supervisor, someone that is, that has the care and feeding of someone's career in the palm of your hands, right? That's your duty, your main role, responsibility. You are a people leader, a people manager, supervisor, boss, whatever term you want to use. You're responsible for this person's goals and performance and giving them feedback. Okay. That's you. Then it's also your responsibility to check in with them. Again, you're not a counselor. You may not know the right thing to say, but you're going to check in and you're going to find out how their energy management is going, right? Especially if you see things that they were a high performer, they were, they look like they may be having signs of burnout because, again, they're not quite as on as they usually are. That's a key hallmark to check in with your person to see how things are going, and then offer any support or resources that your organization offers, right? And half the time, honestly, it's just a listening ear. I mean, honestly, when you're dealing with somebody who is in the languishing category and or who is consistently functionally depressed and functionally anxious, just having someone to talk to is light years ahead of what we normally do at work. Okay. I always use the same example comes to mind over and over again. Back years ago when my father passed away, I went into immediate execution mode with, helping to write the obituary, traveling into town early to ensure arrangements were made. Meeting with family and friends and that sort of thing, right? And then immediately went back to work because in my mind, I was thinking, as long as I stay active, as long as I stay busy, as long as I stay engaged in work, it'll keep my mind off of the loss and it will help me to cope faster, quicker, better. Okay, that's what I thought. And I'm okay with saying that because I know many people think that way. All right. Whenever there's something going on at home that they're quote unquote running away from, most of the time they're going to run to work. And then when they get there, they simply don't have the energy to do what they normally do. And then they kind of beat themselves up. You feel kind of a little bit of shame or guilt because you're not operating at the level 10 that you can operate at. And so then the whole spiral starts to happen. But you're at work, you're trying to do your best. And at some point, I crashed, right? I fell lower and lower, and being functionally depressed, it started showing up. I was coming to work later and later, right? Literally dragging myself out of bed just took so much more energy that it was getting later and later, and I was getting to work later than normal. And so I was proactive. I didn't wait for anybody to call it out. I proactively talked to my supervisor and said, you know what, I'm really kind of struggling. The death of my father is starting to hit me. And I noticed that it kind of hits in the morning where I have, a bit of hard time getting out of bed and making it to work at, the usual, whatever it was, maybe 8:15, 8:30. And I was kind of tiptoeing around to see if maybe an extra hour for the next week or two and coming in later would be acceptable. And she very clearly laid out, if you need extra help, you need to just, you need to apply for FMLA. And I was like, whoa, that was the hammer. And all I needed was a screwdriver, right? Like, I'm just talking about a couple of weeks. I don't need to apply for FMLA. And I knew what that would entail, right? I would have to go to see a psychiatrist. I would have to get approval from a doctor and have that submitted. I knew I had already had a medical procedure the year before. So I knew what the process was for that. And again, that seemed a little bit overkill for what I was doing, which gets back to organizations kind of having a one or the other option here, right? There's really not great support for organizations for those that are in the languishing category. Okay. It's like, hey, you take time off and you go deal with your issues, go see a counselor, and we'll, check back. We'll see you back here in a few weeks or a couple months. Right. And it's like, well, no, I don't need to completely disengage from work totally and go through all the paperwork and extra. I just need a little bit of maybe workplace accommodation, or maybe more time in getting my deliverables done than I normally do. Maybe sharing the workload with peers or colleagues, and then we'll check back in on how I'm doing to see if things are getting better, or if maybe I do need some heavier support. But again, there's really no place for that without a conversation. And in order to have that conversation, you have to have some trust and some psychological safety with your direct supervisor, and have them be understanding, caring, compassionate, empathetic, have a high level of emotional intelligence. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what we're missing in the workplace. Back to the focus of AngelsSpeaking and that middle layer manager, giving those individuals the tools, the techniques, the talking points, how you behave in different situations. Again, we're not asking folks to play armchair psychologist here, but we are asking people to have a listening ear and to have a few extra tools in their back pocket when they're dealing with a high level of employees that are somewhere between depression and thriving. Okay. And so with that, I will just say, again, we are right smack dab in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Month. And now is the time, more than ever, to address these long-standing issues that workplaces have typically ignored, right? We're so focused on the extremes, right? The 20% of those that are high performing and we do the care and feeding of getting them promoted and into top spots. And then a lot of focus on the 20% that are not doing their job. They are not in the right seat and causing a lot of problems for themselves and others. Tons of focus on that, some focus on the top. But again, the 80% is the one, ironically, that's being ignored. And that, again, that's where you're going to find a third of your individuals that are looking at paycheck versus benefits. Is this company helping and supporting my mental health, or are they actually contributing negatively to it? And if it's negative, is the paycheck that I'm receiving worth it? Right. So these are legit questions that employees are having in their minds. And quite frankly, with the length of time that it takes to identify, interview, onboard, and get someone up to speed to where they can be functional and autonomous and do their work on their own in an organization, is anywhere from 6 to 9 months. If you're dealing with, a knowledge worker, someone that you're hiring what's in their brain and their competency to get something done. It's about 6 to 9 months runway to get there. We don't have time for them to opt out a year or two later and say, this organization isn't for me, I'm going to move somewhere else, right? That's too much time, effort, and energy that you have put in as an organization to get that person. So we need to retain them. And one of the biggest ways that we can do that is by providing and creating a psychologically safe environment, an inclusive environment, to where they can get help to the point where we can get folks back to closer to their thriving level. Okay, so thank you all. With that, come back again next Friday at 12:30 as we continue on with our next topic on Filter Free Friday. As always, reach out at any time to info@angelspeaking.com. In fact, I think I have a banner that I can put that on. I don't know. Let's see if it works. I think it works. Yes, it's working. There's the banner. info@angelspeaking.com. 2 S's in the middle. Reach out to us. Again, we have a full staff of coaches and consultants that can help you and your organization with your needs. All right, take care and see you next Friday. Reach out anytime. Bye now.